I joined the club, the camera club, in 2006 when I decided that I wanted to do something more satisfying than my golf game. And it has been a lot more satisfying than my golf game.
That's great.
The club was in the dungeon of the East Center at the time, and I took Howard Benedict's 12-week class, and the space was so small that he had to do the 12-week class in 4 sessions, 2 on Thursday and 2 on Fridays, because you couldn't put very many people in that space. I worked here in the Arid Garden on Friday morning, so I took the Friday afternoon session, and it was really dark in there, so sometimes I would find myself dozing off, but that wasn't Howard's fault.
From that time, how has the club progressed?
Oh my goodness. Well, we moved, having the dedicated space that we have now in 2008. I think Don White was the president at the time, and he and I think Howard Benedict and some other really well-versed people designed the space and did a lot of the construction, internal construction, kind of like what we did recently. That really made a huge difference in what we could accomplish at the club. During that time, my early days, I was taking Photoshop elements from Al Crawford. And after 3 years of his class, I said, I've got an idea for a SIG, and told him what it was. I said, do you think I can do that? And he said, absolutely. So that's how my Photoshop element SIG started. At the time, it was called, What Can We Do With This Picture? Which really makes sense when you consider people bring their photographs and then I do the adjustments and show them how to do it. So anyway, so that was the beginning of my SIG. And I learned a lot from Al. He taught several tricks that I still use and teach today in my class that aren't taught anywhere else.
Nice. How does it feel when you are teaching this class and people are learning and getting better at Photoshop? How does that satisfaction feel?
Oh, there's nothing like it. I love it when somebody brings in a photograph that they've done when they learn something in the class and show me, and I go, fantastic. I think, I give you an A+. I was not a teacher in my former life, but I think about the fact that the best thing about teaching at the photography club is the students want to be there.
That's huge. What do the friendships mean that you've made over the years with everybody? Talk about that a little bit.
Oh, that's at the bottom of the page. The friendships I've made have been invaluable. I belong to several other organizations, and I have what I call my communities among those, but my biggest and most valuable community is the community I've become a part of at the photography club.
Nice. Can you talk to me a little bit about, you were the president of the photography club, and we had COVID. Were you the president before COVID started?
I actually became president by default. Holly Corbo was the president, and she would go back to her home in New York during the summer. And because I'm a full-time resident here, she would ask me if I would be the stand-in for her during the summer. And then COVID hit, and there I was. So I became president by default, and through the COVID period until Danny stepped in and gratefully took over for me.
What was that like during COVID? Because we were meeting at the club, and then all at once now it's Zoom.
Right.
talk a little bit about the period of time when we had to close the club, and then we started with Zoom.
When COVID hit, GVR shut down all of the clubs, especially the clubs in the dedicated spaces like we have. And it was, I actually liken it to what happened in the normal educational situation in the schools, where these teachers had to go from one day they were teaching in a classroom, and then all of a sudden on the 2 days later they were having to teach by Zoom. We kind of did the same thing, and I think Jean Comarmi and I forget who the other person was. Anyway, they really said we can do this using Zoom, and so the SIGs, black and white, multimedia. Jean did the multimedia SIG, and Phil Rock was very instrumental in getting us all set up with Zoom, because none of us had ever used it. But we ran our SIGs for about a year and a half. This morning I came across some of the recordings from my SIGs at home. It was amazing that we were able to keep going. One of the other things that we did, Patty Ferguson and I were leading the bird photography field trips, and we continued to do those during the COVID, because we got people coming, because we didn't have to be near each other. So those were the only field trips we did during COVID.
Were those trips officially sanctioned by the club, or is it just impromptu?
They were pretty much impromptu.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't remember that period in terms of doing the field trips that way.
Right.
What did it mean to you and to us as club members as we were going through the Zoom period, and we were isolated from so much, short of going to Walmart or the grocery store, for us to still meet and get together? What did that mean?
Oh, that was wonderful. That was wonderful. Being able to see the faces of the people that had been sitting in front of us in the class, it was really great. And it was fun because they were a lot of them were coming onto Zoom from different places, not all from Green Valley. So we got a chance to chat a little bit, what's going on in your place, so on and so forth. So that was a fun part of it. I decided fairly early on, because a club member made a point to me, that I was going to take my SIG, after the club opened, take my SIGs off of Zoom, because the purpose of the club is to get people in. And if it's available, if you're not there, it kind of defeats sort of the purpose of having the fantastic facilities that we have. When the physical facilities were not available during COVID, the board voted to give free memberships for that year, and I think it was even carried into the next year, because the shutdown lasted 15 months or so. And I thought that, we were still offering things on Zoom, so they were still able to use their membership, but it wasn't costing them anything.
I would agree completely. That's why we stopped. I said, I want people coming to the club.
Yep.
This is what we're all about.
Yeah.
It's too convenient for people to just stay at home.
Yes.
They got their coffee, and they're like, I'm just going to watch on Zoom.
No.
Not anymore.
No.
What did it mean after that period of COVID, when we were able to close, when we were able to open up the club again? How good did that feel in terms of getting to see people versus seeing them on Zoom?
Oh, it made all the difference. To be able to have a face-to-face conversation with anybody, I think, is the best. One of the things that we did, and of course, losing the Kino room at that time, Danny was president, and when we lost the Kino room, I said to him, you know, this is the perfect opportunity to reconfigure our space because the needs are totally different now than what they were in 2008 when this space was set up.
What does it mean when we have the new classroom in terms of now making that a dedicated space, because that used to be the digital dark room?
Yep.
And now we've got this nice big classroom. How does that affect you and your students that are coming to the SIG?
Well, if we had a big class, we always, when we had access to the Kino room, we had access all day on Thursday from morning till even in the evening. But when we lost that, I went around to monitors and said, how many people at one time have you ever seen in the photo lab? And the highest number I ever got was 5. And I said, then we can use, and the photo lab, the new photo lab was kind of my baby. I really wanted that space to be a dedicated space to the photo lab. It's worked out perfectly. We didn't need all of that huge space with all those computers that we had to pay for upgrading all the time. It just wasn't being used anymore. And being able to shift that space and opening up that classroom space. I was teaching the basic camera class up until this week, and that room was pretty full. And I know that your room is full for you, for your multimedia group. I mean, we have a lot of people, and I think the iPhone class is full. We really needed that kind of space. And the fact is, one of the fun things of redesigning the space was, as we went along, we found it was like, oh my goodness, we have a second classroom that had been the storage room. So it kind of we had basics that we wanted to do, and then all of a sudden surprises would pop up, and that was really fun.
Where do you see the club going in the future here? Do you have any ideas?
I haven't really thought about that. I think we need to do more classes. I know several people after my basic camera class came up to me and said, I wish you'd taught this like 2 or 3 years ago. You could have saved me a lot of money. I taught years ago, I taught Mastering Your Digital Camera class, and it was packed, and it was in the Kino room. And I would look around and I'd see people, everybody had to bring their cameras, which I also wanted them to do with this recent class. And I saw people with, you know, they'd spent a lot of money on these DSLRs with lenses and stuff like that. And they didn't have a clue, number one, how the camera worked, how they were going to be able to, they put it on auto, and that was it. And that was the whole thing about why this recent class was started, was all these people are shooting on auto. They didn't know what parts of their camera were. So that class will, Jim and I have talked about, it'll be at least twice a year. It'll be a standard class.